Hey y'all, it's because Mama said so, and I have a box of shells and some sun-dried tomatoes. What on earth am I gonna do today? Keep watching. To start our sauce recipe, we're going to take 1.5 sticks of butter and we're going to melt it. Now the heat will stay at about medium through this whole process because we do not want this sauce to boil, because when it boils then it kind of cracks and it gets a little bit gritty. So we're just going to melt that 1.5 sticks of butter, and to that we're going to add 2 heaping tablespoons of garlic. And we're going to stir this for a couple minutes until all of the butter and the garlic are melted. At this point, we're going to add 1/2 cup of half and half and 1.5 cups of heavy cream. We'll give that a nice stir and let that start to heat through, and then we'll add our 8 ounces of cream cheese. Now the recipe calls for 6 ounces, but I had 8 ounces, and so I just went ahead and put in the full 8, but you do not have to do that. I'm going to add my cream cheese and let that start melting. As it starts to melt, I'll then add my cup-ish of my Italian blend cheese, which if you read the recipe, it's Parmesan, but I did not have Parmesan, so we're doing Italian blend. But you can customize this recipe with just about any cheese that you like, any Italian cheese really. I've wanted to try it with feta before, but I haven't. Now we're going to add our sun-dried tomatoes, and I'm going to give that a stir, and then I'm just going to let this sauce sit by the side while I, brown my sausage and do a couple of other things, because I want them to rehydrate just a little bit in the sauce. Here you can see I've got the sauce set aside, and I'm going ahead and I'm browning 1 pound of pork sausage, and I'm just going to keep going until this is all completely browned. Alright, so my sauce is done. You just saw the video of me doing the sauce, and I also browned the pork sausage, which is really the only 2 prep things you have to do, well, other than the noodles. Once the noodles were done, I actually ran them under cold water. I know, I can hear every Italian on the globe screaming. However you scream, that's not the way you do it in Italian. That's what they're thinking. But for me, it makes it easier that the little shells don't stick together while I'm trying to scoop them out and do my thing. So before we have to assemble the shells, we have to get our filling going. And for that, we're going to need some mozzarella cheese. And I feel like every time I put in a recipe how much cheese to put, I always put more cheese than that. Raise your hands if you like cheese. I like cheese. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna crack 2 eggs. We're gonna add just about a cup, maybe a little more, you know, sliding scale. Mama said so, measuring, things like that. All right. So there's a cup, maybe a cup and a half, I don't know. It just makes everything so good in these shells. All right, I'm gonna add pepper. I'm gonna add some salt, about a teaspoon of each, half a teaspoon of each or so. Of course, you measure to taste what your family likes. Let me go grab my noodles. Here's my noodles. All right, I'm also going to go ahead here and grab my meat that's been browned. I'm going to mix all this stuff together first though, and then I'll throw the meat in. This is such a delicious filling. I've actually done this filling and used it for lasagna, but it's so good in the stuffed shells. I know some people like to use ricotta more than they do cottage cheese, and that is a perfectly acceptable substitution here. Make it your own. Just like in the recipe, I have mozzarella and Parmesan for the cheeses, and I actually didn't have any Parmesan. I had like an Italian blend that has a little bit of Parmesan in it. I did have mozzarella, but you can make it any way that you want to, because guess what? It's your house. You can do what you want to do. That's your business. All right. So I'm gonna move that to the side. I'm gonna spray up the bottom of this 9x13 pan. Move my shells out of the way so you can see. And I just need one more thing. I need a spoon. I keep forgetting things. out the same steps, it's a completely different recipe now. But that's how I like to recipe plan and try things out. Okay, all the shells are stuffed. Please forgive in the background right now. I don't know if you can hear it or if you will hear it, but I have a dog that is howling and I have kids that are singing. Both, which make my heart happy, but I just wanted to make sure that you know what that sound was. So I'm gonna take my sauce. Hey, kitty. Kitty knows good food when he sees it. Don't you, kitty? I'm just gonna take and spread this out all over the top. Make sure I've got all of my little noodles covered. Then I'm gonna take, I think I'm gonna use my Italian blend because it has mozzarella in it. But if you did not have this at home, you would just be using mozzarella. I'm just gonna take about a cup and just lightly cover it up. You don't want to make it too cheesy on top because then it sometimes makes it hard to cut into or over browns and perfect. All right, I'm gonna go get this in the oven and I'll see you in a little bit. Here's what it looked like after about 35-40 minutes at 375 degrees in the oven. It smells so good. My husband won't be home till later, so I'm not going to give you a plate shot yet, but the recipe's at the end of the video. Take care of yourself, your precious cargo, and why? Because Mama said so.